David Goggins. Trainer
Goggins.
Joe, are you a fan of David Goggins, particularly his intense weight loss method? I just want to discuss him. He's this very popular figure, and would it be fair
Very
to say
popular.
he's divisive, controversial?
Yeah.
I think it is.
He certainly has a following, big following.
Wow.
But it seems that he has plenty of haters that think it's ridiculous, his methods and what he does. So
Yeah, more recently, I've really been diving into the world of David Goggins and seeing what
Yeah.
I can glean from my own life and weighing him out. But I thought, how cool would it be to get Trainer Joe, who a lot of people here online respect and appreciate your honest thoughts on health and weight
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah.
So kind of hearing you on this other
bluntness.
very interesting figure. So, without further ado, David Goggins.
Yeah, he lost. He wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and so he needed to lose 100 pounds in 3 months. He lost, what was it, 106 or something in less than 3 months.
When did you first hear about Goggins?
Wow, probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I think, isn't he 49 at the time we're doing this?
Something probably like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I wonder when he wrote the book, because I had heard his name, and then a month ago, I decided I will listen to a David Goggins book. I listened to the Can't Hurt Me book, and that was the first time I really was like, oh, wow, this is who this guy is.
Yeah.
And since then, like I said, I've been kind of assessing this guy.
Yeah.
What a book.
I probably shouldn't start with this, but when I think of him, what I've seen of him, you've probably watched him more than me, but what I've seen of him is, because I've had friends like this, I'm like, for what they have to work with, they've done some amazing things.
Oh, no, I know where you're about to go.
So he doesn't come across to me like a real great student, if you want to say it that way. And I wasn't either. And I think when that happens, you tend to want to compensate by maybe giving more of an effort than the average person would. I mean, to me, it comes across a little bit that way, which, hey, I have not, again, I would say I've done that. I struggled in school, and so I worked really hard and did some things and challenged myself, because I was like, I didn't have the confidence that I was going to be able to do it just by my brains alone, kind of thing. And that, to me, that comes across. I could be wrong, but I kind of get that sense with him.
Perhaps that's a quality in a lot of great people, is they
I wouldn't doubt that.
But what is it fair to
David, please don't take that wrong.
From what I
if
hear,
you're watching my show.
Well, what I hear you saying, are you trying to say that he maybe doesn't come across the most educated?
Educated and articulate to me, yeah, and having thought things through. But I do think he's motivational. I do think I like listening to some of his stuff, listen to some of it preparing for this. I'm like, yeah, because he's going to press people to go beyond what they're comfortable going. He's going to challenge people to leave mediocrity.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, they need that challenge, because it's more normal just to settle into a comfortable place, when deep down, I think all of us have this desire to do something great. And he's able to touch that and encourage that. So I like that about him.
I think he would admit kind of what we're describing right now. I think he'd admit that. He would say, yeah, I'm not the most eloquent and am not the most educated, but phooey on a lot of the experts. 'Cause
Sure.
they're not getting to the stuff that I'm getting to, which will, as you said, will really take you to the next level.
Yeah, we're talking about him, so he's accomplished something. We're talking about him. And if we want to get specific on him losing over 100 pounds in 3 months, because we did our video on how to lose 100 pounds in 6 months, which is, by almost every standard, is fast. So he's taken it down to 3 months, even as one that's quicker than that.
Well, tell the scenario of why he needed to lose it that fast.
Yeah, he wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and he had to get down to a certain weight to do that. So that was why he was doing it. And he talked about what he did. He said for breakfast, I thought it was interesting what he has for breakfast, because I see so many things, because this is something I also recommended in my Lose 100 Pounds. And I see a lot of things say, don't have this for breakfast. This is the worst breakfast.
This is good. This is good stuff right here. This is Trainer Joe's honest thoughts on the Goggins weight loss method.
A bowl of oatmeal, right? He said a small bowl of oatmeal and some protein. And he said his breakfast is about 300 calories. Then he says no snacking. He may have 3 or 4 small meals a day, but no snacking. He said, I'm really big on fats. He doesn't go into details, and the things that I saw, he didn't go into details. He said, I'm really big on fat. So, and then high protein. But then somewhere else I saw that it comes out to about 800 calories a day is what he's having. Wow. So he's not having a ton of protein. And ultimately...
800 calories of just protein or total?
Total. He said about 40% protein, about 40% fat.
And this is when he was losing the weight.
And then about 20%
clearly
carbs.
Eating more than that now.
Clearly, yeah. And he'll have times. He said, that's just during my weight loss. That's not during regular training. You know, he talked about a cheat meal he'll have during his training of a whole pizza and other stuff. But, and with this... But then he's got his exercise. So the main thing that's causing him to lose that much weight, and he said, just don't eat hardly anything and work out a ton. I mean, that's what it's coming down to. Don't eat hardly anything and work out a ton. But what he is eating is good. Most would agree is good stuff. And he also said in the morning he will have a banana. So maybe that was depending on what his goal is. But on the weight loss, 800 calories, a few small meals. And then he bikes a lot, swims a lot. Well, let's see, 8 o'clock in the morning, a swim, 11 o'clock, strength and conditioning, weights, and high-intensity training. And then 3 o'clock, bike ride. And then 5 o'clock, a run.
Man.
And then 7 o'clock, a balanced meal, protein, healthy fats, and carbs. Wow. 10 o'clock, go to bed. So...
That's crazy.
So, yeah... What I gather from that is, do you want to do that? Are you capable of doing that? Is your body going to hold up to that? The vast majority of people, no. You're going to injure yourself. You're going to injure yourself. You're going to strain something. You're going to be feeling like you're starving to death. So unless you have some really amazing goal that's, in your mind, hugely rewarding, you're not going to do that.
It's funny because I think of your program, and I could see some people looking at your program or just talking to someone who's in your program right now that's doing well with it, that's losing weight, and be like, this just isn't gonna work with my lifestyle right now. This program of Trainer Joe's 21-day transformation's a little too intense for me.
And mine is so much easier.
And then it's like, yours is on the intensity scale, maybe a 4, and Goggins is a 10.
Yeah, on our food's not going to be much different than his, what you're eating, and might lose 100 pounds in 6 months. But the exercise, I'm realistic. Anybody can do mine.
And even someone that's got a bum knee.
Yeah, anybody with a bum knee can do my plan. Your body has to be willing and able to do a lot of hard physical work. So that's going to be for a very select group that would like to lose that much weight that fast.
You have you say you got to walk 20 minutes a day. So someone with a bum knee, could they...
Yeah, it's more than that in 100 pounds, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to say,
but it's just walk.
Okay, they could replace it potentially with swimming.
Yeah, swim or bike or, any exercise.
20 minutes of something.
Yeah, and it's a little longer in the 100 pounds.
Okay. So, so you're given I don't want to jump the gun here because I want to discuss more of kind of his methods, but if someone were to come to you that needs to lose 100 pounds in a short amount of time, and said, Trainer Joe, can I get your stamp of approval here? I'm going to do exactly what Goggins did.
Yeah.
Would you give that stamp of approval?
It's we're looking at what are you, because in one time he says, you got to decide what you're willing to sacrifice, and it needs to be everything, right? So that's kind of what you're looking at here.
He didn't have a family. Well, okay, I was going to say he didn't have a family and kids, but...
He didn't after he started this, probably. That's
the thing.
It's like, are you willing to sacrifice everything?
He got divorced.
Okay, so you're going to have to decide what are you willing to sacrifice to do that. My plan, you don't need to get a divorce, okay? His plan, you might have to. I'm just saying, it's, I'm never advocating that. So if somebody said, will you give the stamp of approval on his plan? I would say, well, just do mine. And then would say, well, I got to do it twice as fast. I'm like, well, you don't have many options. What are your options? That's what people like, okay, that's what you're going to have to do that. Mm-hmm. That's the only way you're going to do that. I'm sorry you're in that position that you have to do that. So, yeah, he gives you a formula.
He's all for losing weight fast, and we've made a number of videos on how to lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time. But you might encourage someone that's like, I want to lose 100 pounds in 2.5 months. to say like, let's
Why?
stretch that out.
Why?
Let's stretch it out a little.
Well, why do they need to do it? If the wedding's in 2.5 months, then they can't stretch it out a little, right? So you got to decide. Well, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe 100's too much.
The amount of
Yeah.
of intensity that's
not
going
gonna
to
be
be
able to-
required.
Very few people are going to be able to do that, and their body hold up.
The amount of intensity that's going to require in 2.5 months losing 100 pounds, you might say, let's stretch that out and come up with a plan to lose it in 6 months.
Yeah.
Would be more of your sweet
Yeah,
spot.
or don't lose that much. Yeah, 6 months. Because I've worked with plenty of people that have done it in 6 months. When you go to our YouTube channel, you're going to see people doing it. Okay, you're not going to see probably anybody actually doing his plan. Can it be done? Yes, by some. I would say mine can be done by pretty much anybody that has 100 pounds to lose. But one of the things I think is really cool about what he's promoting is it's challenging people to step up, to rise up, to realize what you can do. And that's what he's kind of opening people's eyes to. You can do more than you're doing. And a lot of people never do because they're never challenged and they don't believe that they could. So he's working on those two things that I think is good. And more people need to be challenged in that.
I agree.
Like when people do my 21-day transformation, I tell them in the beginning, hey, your approach hasn't been working. Don't bring your casual approach to this program.
It's good.
Because a lot of times we just live casually and we wanted great things to happen, but we never challenged ourselves. We never pushed ourselves beyond what we could do. And the only way we know what we can do is if we push ourselves beyond that. And that's something that he's challenging people to do.
Bless you. I agree. I think there's something very refreshing. And for anyone, I mean, it's cool because I've talked to so many people since reading his book about a month ago. And I've been like, man, I'm listening to some Goggins. I did the audiobooks, only audiobooks here right now in this season of life. And then it's like, without fail, the person I bring him up to is like, oh yeah, I like some David Goggins. My brother read his book. One of my best friends read his book. The guys at the training gym read. So everyone's familiar with Goggins. And there is something when you're trying to achieve something really special to get inspired by someone like this.
Yeah.
Let it fuel you, but also it can challenge someone who's just wanting to live a little bit of a leveled up life.
Yes.
We all could use a kick in the pants.
Yeah, as I was thinking about this, I thought about a lot of the dreams that I've had growing up and even now where I dream I can fly. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had that dream where you can fly?
It's more your dream.
I wonder what that is. Have you ever had one?
We might need to really
where you're flying?
We need to look into this. Why you got
you can look it up. They'll tell you what it means. I haven't looked it up lately. It's got a meaning behind it. Have you never had a dream where you could fly? Oh man, you're missing out.
Maybe one like 15 years ago.
Okay, so yeah. You know what makes that dream so cool? Is that nobody else can do it. When I have that dream, there's not other people flying around. They're all looking at me like, look, or I'm hiding, and I can't let them see me, but that you can fly. And so often we have this ability to rise above and we just don't do it. And what's interesting is if everybody was doing David Goggins stuff, if everybody was doing what you're doing with pickleball and things that I would look at in my past, say, wow, that was really special. Very few people ever make that attempt, which means it's relatively easy to be exceptional. But we're not calling people up to that. And everybody's like, well, you can't do that. Well, that's too extreme. Well, I wouldn't want to do that. Well, that's dangerous. Fine. Stay in that group, and you can. But to rise up. And I think, why do you think a lot of people never go there?
It's going to take more work than what seems kind of like culturally approved.
Yeah.
And so you're going to look weird. That's one thing.
Yes. Or I remember when I was doing insurance and we had that President's Roundtable. And one year I decided I should try that. And it was based upon what I heard somebody saying about me. Okay. And a lot of times it's somebody says something about you that gives you a confidence that you didn't have. And then I talked to my wife and we prayed and then I remember friends of mine as I was going for this goal that took a year that were questioning me. And one said, you seem a little too into this. It seems like maybe your priorities are messed up a little bit. So it can look like a vanity thing. It can look like,
obsession.
You're obsessed and the goals are not, they're just surface goals. They're not really important things to a lot of people. So they're going to question you. It's like, this is shallow, what you're trying to do.
It reminds me of someone that's like, tells their loved ones, I'm going to lose 70 pounds. And the loved ones are like, we're used to you looking like this, and you don't really need to lose that, but you've resolved.
Or they might encourage you in the beginning, and you start doing it, and they're like, oh, man, can you back off a little bit?
You're just too obsessed with this.
Obsessed.
But in your mind, in your heart, you're like, no, like, I've decided, and this is good. This needs to happen.
Yeah.
And you probably are going to get some pushback. As funny as that sounds, pushback for you taking your health seriously and losing weight, losing excess weight, and you still are probably going to experience resistance.
Yes. And I would say to people that are like, well, it may be shallow, then pick something that's not shallow to you. You know, I think the important thing is that you have a mission that you've decided is important, and then you can decide, I want to be great at this. I mean, even if it's prayer, you know, in a spiritual sense, or even if it's just being an amazing dad or husband, you know, there's things you can do that you can say, that's what I want to be great at.
Yeah.
And I think what I kind of challenge people in is this health and weight loss, because I was in church not too long ago, and a guy behind me tapped me on the shoulder in a break time, and he said, I just want to thank you for what you do. He said, because what you do is foundational. And I was really appreciative of it. He said, he was just really passionate. It's foundational, because for him, it changed the way he lived, his health, what he saw in his future. And because if you think about it, a lot of people will be 30, 40, 50. They're working really hard. They're making money. And then their health is not good. And at some point, they would give all their money for their health. So when I call people and challenge them, I'm like, I'm challenging you to be great at losing weight and being healthy. I want you to learn how to be great at this, because if you don't have this foundation, you're not going to be able to build anything on it, particularly if you're sick or you're dead. So there are times where you got to decide, you know, this thing that I'm not sure I should give myself to is important enough to give myself to it and to be great at it. And so that's one of the things I think he calls people up in, because a lot of times we're just not going to get it done because we're unwilling to put it at a high level and a high priority. Do you agree with that?
Completely agree. And I think no matter who we are, if you can look past some of his language, because he does have some strong language, any of us, like you said, that are trying to pursue anything to excellence can look at his content and be like, I'm going to take some of that for myself in order to rise. So it doesn't need to be losing 100 pounds in 3 months. It doesn't need to be playing a professional sport.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what else it reminded me of as we were preparing for this? It reminded me of our talk last week. Is your weight your choice? Can you choose it?
It's a good video.
Yeah, and you might want to go back and watch that, because I think that's what he's saying, is so much of our future is our choice, but we play the victim. Well, I can't do that because of this or that. And it reminded me of when we go to the fair. If you go to the Kentucky State Fair, every year they have this game called the Bottle Up Game. And you could stand there all day and watch, and nobody will win a prize all day until we get there.
Until the Olligus family.
Until the Olligus family gets there, because me and Paul and Stephen, is Julia one?
Julia, I think, is one as well.
And my daughter can all go. Now, they may need to brush up a little bit and do it. And that's for one reason. I saw the game, and I thought, this is something you can learn to do. I learned to do it, and I taught them to do it, and I could teach anybody to do it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they want to do that? Well, it's not that important. So they're not going to be trained to do it. It's not, no matter how hard you try when you go there at the fair, you'll not be able to do it. But if you train to do it, you can do it. And that's what a lot of this is.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do it. Well, no, it's just not that important. Like that game. Who wants to spend time learning how to do that? It's not going to give you any money. You win a big prize. But that's the way we look at things. Like, well, that's not worth training for. So we say, I can't do that, when really it's just not worth it to us. And that's that's one of the things I like about him, is he stirs that up in you.
He, in his book, he talks about, he had decided, I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to be able to qualify for the SEALs. And he is on what you described, this ridiculously intense exercise program, morning, afternoon, evening. And he's doing his evening lifting session, or afternoon lifting session. And he's doing his pull-ups, and he's supposed to get however many sets of 10. And at one time, he's going up and he gets 9 and is like too exhausted and stops that one and then continues on and
What
then
a wimp.
goes home.
Yeah.
And he said it was just eating me up as I was at home. It was eating me up. I didn't get those all sets of 10. I got 9 out of 10. So he said he went back to the gym that night and did the whole thing over again.
Yeah.
And that's his mindset of I will succeed in this no matter what.
And I do think it's fine to debate whether that's a good idea or not.
The whole thing
there is
over
a
again.
mindset that we need challenged. We need to be challenged, and he's his guy. Everybody's different. But I do think we can all accept that we should challenge ourselves at least from time to time to see what am I capable of doing, or we never really know. And we deserve to know what we're capable of doing.
Yeah. Well, guys, we will link the Trainer Joe How to Lose 100 Pounds in 6 months, which we really advocate for that. We'll link that video in the description. But also, if you are like, Goggins is a little too out there, a little too radical. I like some of his stuff, but his methods sound a little too radical. Jump into a 21-day transformation of Trainer Joe's. The link is in the description.
Yeah,
I think
we'll help you get to the radical place you want to be with your health and weight loss.
I think that would be a good move for you.
Awesome.
All right, guys, comment below. Let us know, are you familiar with Goggins, and what are your just overall thoughts on him? The things you give a thumbs up to, maybe the things you give a thumbs down to. It would be fun.
Overall, are you a fan or are you not a fan?
Your overall thoughts. We're curious to see how the comment section goes. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Until next video, Train a Joe, train your brain.
And transform your body.